How are you?
We're doing really well. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. We're the southeastern United States. So the weather here in the wintertime is a little bit more mild than much of the country. Uh,
Yeah,
you go a bit north of here, they're getting a lot of snow right now. That
yeah, yeah. We have a lot of snow here. Yeah, right now.
absolutely.
It's
So
beautiful.
yeah, it is. It is. Do you have to drive in it very much, or it's a lot of public transportation in
There's
Helsinki?
a lot of yeah. In Helsinki, yeah, it's the public transportation is really good.
That's
So
so nice.
I don't have to worry about driving that much.
Yeah, in the southeastern United States, you have to really pretty much drive everywhere.
Yeah.
And in the Northeast, Boston, New York, they have a lot of good public transportation.
Yeah. Actually, I've been a lot to those cities. So yeah,
Nice, very
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So in Finland, music is a huge scene, and very few people know that because you feel like you're in your own corner of the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's
We
it like in Finland as far as like a music education? Do you learn at a really young age?
well, yeah. The level of music education in Finland is really high. It's and traditionally, especially in the classical music field, it's really high. So a lot of world class composers and conductors and musicians in the classical field come from Finland and opera singers and but in popular music it's more it's it's been more if there's a popular band from Finland it's usually heavy rock hard rock in that type of genre, not that much in other genres actually. So and
Was
the sorry, yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No. I was just about to say, since our language, it's almost only us in Finland. There's like 5.5 million people. Like over the whole population in Finland is so small, and the language isn't spoken anywhere else. So if we make music in Finnish, the potential audience is pretty limited. If
So
we go
Finnish,
to
it's only in Finland. It did nowhere beyond your borders.
nah.
Wow, it's really that.
Only yeah, if people have moved away from Finland, that's another thing, but there are no it's really limited. And east to us is Russia, it's a totally different language. West from us is Sweden, it's a totally different language. So it's like we're almost alone with this weird language of ours.
That's got to feel so strange. You really do.
Well, it's yeah. Well, it's Finland is a special country in many ways. Now with the pandemic, you really kind of realize that we're pretty far up here in alone from the pandemic hasn't treated us as bad as many other countries. So
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we are like stuck in our own corner here, so it's pretty easy to control these things here.
So growing up there,
Yeah,
and having a music education so young, what were some of the first instruments that you learned going to school there?
yeah, I played violin. I played first. I started playing that actually before going to school. I was 4 or 5. There was a teacher in the kindergarten who had like told my parents, or I have a big brother also 4 years older than me, and the kindergarten lady told our parents that maybe you should give these guys an instrument. So we started to play violin, and I played classical violin for 10 years. And 10 years, if you don't know anything about classical violin, it might sound much, but actually it's your only starting. It's like you're maybe starting to learn the vibrato in 10 years. Or of course, if you're a natural talent, it's a different thing, but I wasn't. So it was almost as soon as I started to get into bands and rock music, I kind of the violin kind of.
That happens here in the States quite a bit too, but nobody gets like a really good music education that early. So growing up, what were some of the first bands and music that you were getting into it by your teenage years?
Yeah, well, my father is a really, really big, and mother actually also, they are really big music fans. So music was playing around it was played in our house all the time. So whatever was in I'm 50 now, so we were talking about the 70s. So whatever was on the radio. But the first things that me and my brother, because my brother is almost 4 years older, he was kind of starting to look for things before me. So I kind of inherited most of the things from him. So one of the very first that I remember, it was hard rock. It was Black Sabbath was one of the very first, Motorhead, Deep Purple, that kind of stuff. That was what I started from.
That's the really hard stuff, though. It wasn't like
yeah, of course, yeah. But it's when you're young, it's kind of, it goes, how would I say, it kind of reaches you very well. The energy, it hits you right in the face. And one of the very first bands that I saw live actually was Motorhead, and I was totally blown away. Literally, because it was so loud, but in other ways too. I was maybe 12 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, Motorhead, that's a funny story because I went to see a band when I was about 17 called Fastway. It was
I know. I remember that band. Yeah.
It was so loud I lost my hearing for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Band that opened up for them was called Mama's Boy. And because it was a small theater on the west side of Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is. So I heard Motorhead played that same venue about a week later, and they were so loud the plaster was falling down from the ceiling.
Yeah. They had a world record or something about being the loudest. Whatever.
They really miss. Was he the lead singer? He's. I think he passed away.
Yeah.
That's so that's interesting. But yeah, I shouldn't be too surprised because some of that hard edge music probably did resonate over there. And
it did. Yeah, it always has for some reason. It's always Finland is, if it's known for any kind of music, it's usually known for the hard rock music, which hasn't been. It was with me. It was only I still have a soft spot for Motorhead and Black Sabbath and maybe those more classic Deep Purple and those kind of bands, but it was mostly only for the teenage years. Then I started to get into different kind of music after that.
So growing up and going through the teenage years, did you go to a university in Finland?
No, actually, no, I'm lying. I went to the university for just a little while, but I spent my youth in not in Helsinki, way up north from here, like 500 kilometers in a really, really small town, like 8,000 people. And I went to college there. And after that, I went to the university in Helsinki because I just had to move away from there. It was just, I couldn't see any future. I just wanted to, Helsinki is the biggest city in Finland. So I just wanted to get here. So first, I actually went to the university for maybe 1.5 years, just not getting that much done. But basically, I was reading philosophy, but not getting very much done. I was playing in bands and practicing. So, because in our family, in our whole family, like going generations up there, I'm the first one who has an art profession. So I never thought that I have never thought that music could be my profession. And although my parents were always very supportive, it didn't even come to their minds that, maybe he could do this for a living. So I kind of moved to Helsinki, and then I realized here that this is all I'm doing anyway. So I might as well try this out.
That's so interesting. So how did you How did you convert from just having that violin education to, did you teach yourself the guitar? Did you?
Yeah. Actually, my big brother had a band in when we lived up north, and he needed a bass player, and he just kind of said that you are going to play the bass. And then I just, I worked. It's a funny story. I worked in a graveyard. I was mowing the lawn and for a summer, and then I could afford to buy a bass. So then I had a bass, and I went to play in his band. It maybe was 2 years maybe. And then when that band stopped, playing bass alone in your home is gets boring. So I kind of started to test out my brother's guitar, and that's kind of how it went.
That's
so
wild. That's wild.
Yeah,
It just turns into that. And of course, somebody's got to do it and mow the lawn at the graveyard. So.
Yeah, that's true. And it was me actually for 3 summers in a row. Yeah,
that's all really paying your dues, not just talent show and all of a sudden you're famous.
Yeah, well, I haven't done that much. Like those were kind of, I was also delivering the mail like weekends, but that was probably the last real job that I ever had. So
So, and getting through your early adult years, did you do a lot of producing and working for other people, or it was just basically your solo act was just kind of
No. I kind of got into producing and engineering because when I was a teenager, my father's uncle gave me this Tascam 4-tracker that worked with a cassette tape, and I started learning that when I was 12, 13, and then kind of gradually, as the technology evolved, I got into bigger tape machines and digital machines in the late 80s maybe. So when I was living in Helsinki, they started the first ever recording engineer schooling in Helsinki at the Sibelius Academy. So I applied and I got in there, and then right after that they also had a record production class. So I attended that also. So I was always doing all of this. I was always playing and recording, engineering and producing. It's been like simultaneously my whole life. Actually, it's been all this.
It sounds like it all complements each other.
Yeah, it does. Definitely. It helps me as a musician. It has helped me a lot because I kind of know it's easier for me. I guess it's easier for me to listen to the whole thing and kind of find my place in the music. And also it's easier to maybe, well, it goes both ways. Yeah, definitely.
So in your producing your music for your own recordings, you have your solo album out.
Yeah.
How was the writing process for that? How do you put together something like that?
It's I'm very sound oriented, so it's not that much about on my album. I don't. I have a hard time sometimes calling myself a composer, although I know that's what I'm doing, but it's like it's not the most important thing for me. Like when creating music, the most important thing for me is not creating a complex or a complex composition. It's more about getting the right mood. So whatever that means, it could be like on my album. There's a lot of songs that don't have that many chords. It's more of a mood, more of a texture type of thing for me. Yeah. Some of the songs are more like composed, but it has never been that important for me. I also used to work with people that I have written like quite traditional pop songs also. So it's a thing. I can do that also, but it's when I do my own stuff. It's more in the textural, like a moody type.
So atmospheric type background.
Yeah,
Like if I were to
yeah,
play your album, it's like, it's like while I'm doing something, I have it in the house, I'm piping it through. It's atmospheric. It's
yeah. That's what it is. Yeah,
and the album is called Ghost Riot.
yeah, yeah.
And how long has this been out now?
Well, actually, it's been out already for 3 years. Yeah, it's just I've been I'm really working towards making another album this year. But since I'm working with other people, I'm touring and recording with other people all the time, so it's not that easy to find the right time. And last year, when the pandemic hit, I actually I was booked to do a score music for this TV series, this crime drama. So it's 6 episodes. So that takes, well, it took maybe 8 months, but let's say 4 months of hard work. So that took that took a really long part of the last year for me. So I didn't have a lot of time to do anything else.
Well, that's understandable. You're getting other gigs. So
Yeah. And it's funny because of this atmospheric nature of my album, that's the reason why I got the score music work, because a director had heard the album and he was, hey, I'm gonna book this guy to make that.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit, and there's a lot of work in that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of work, and it's like how would I call it? Composing score music might sound like being something very artistic, and it's also that, but it's customer service. A lot of it's you have to provide music that the director wants, and it's very many times it's not the idea that you probably like the most, but it's what they want, and you have to provide it, and that's how it goes.
It's customer. Yeah, you're being a service musician.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy it, but it's just you just have to get to the mindset that, well, of course there are people probably like the highest rank of film composers that can do whatever they want, probably, but it's a much bigger business. At least in Finland, it's a much bigger business than the record business. So there's a lot more money involved, and when there's more money involved, there's a lot more people involved that want to have their say and blah blah blah. So it's the process is
process.
You're
going through a committee to get something approved.
Sometimes, and you have to listen to opinions. Sometimes from people that don't understand anything about music. So, but it's it's interesting. It's okay.
That's how it is in TV production as well. When you're editing by committed, I do video editing, so it's like it's going through. When so many people get into it, and they're not really, they're just looking at it from a viewer's perspective, not really a producer's perspective. So
Yeah. And some people just have, they just have to say something for the sake of saying something.
Got to justify your job, in other words.
Yeah. I hope they're not listening.
They'll all be unnamed. That's
yeah.
So going back to Ghost Riot, where did that title come from? Is that what are the origins of that title?
Of the title, yeah. Well, it's always, when making instrumental music, it's not easy to. You usually just make the music and you don't think about the titles. And usually it's when it's like, okay, now the album is mixed and now I should get, somebody should make a cover for this, but I don't have any names for the song. So it's usually very many times it's like that if you don't have a theme.
Huh.
So I had a lot of references when I was making the album. I had a lot of references, like maybe musical references, but it was more maybe, how would I say, like attitudes or aesthetics, or not like actual compositional or sound wise. And there were a lot of albums that I had. One was Sly and the Family Stone, There's a Riot Going On. That was one album I was kind of referencing to. And then another album was Brian Eno and David Byrne, the Life in the Bush of Ghosts.
Oh yeah,
that album. Yeah. So I was kind of looking through the reference albums. This and then I just was looking at the titles and the words, and then so the Ghost came from another album, and I was just playing with words. So it's not more mystical than that. So that's where it came from.
That's really interesting. I did some interesting titles there.
Yeah, because it evoked that combination of words. It evoked a mood in me, and then I kind of afterwards I've been kind of thinking that there might be a deeper meaning in the title that I was thinking about, like being calm on the outside but having a storm in the inside, that kind of line of thought maybe.
So where you're speaking from now, this is your studio?
This is my home studio. Yeah. This is where I do all my stuff.
Downtown Helsinki, is that?
It's in the outskirts. Yeah, close enough. It's like how would I say? It's 25 minutes from the center, something like that. But Helsinki is relatively small. It's only 600,000 people. So it's, even though it's the capital, it's small.
Yeah. Here, I've lost track. I think we have, like, in the Atlanta metro area, it's like millions now. It's
it's a huge difference. We Finnish, we live so sparse. It's like, so there's this social distancing is like, it's what we do all the time. Anyway,
there's probably a little COVID there, I would think, up in those countries.
Yeah, well, it's at the moment we're kind of living pretty critical times. It's been going to a bad direction because the new version that came.
Oh, the variant has been getting in there.
Yeah, so it's the new variant is it spreads more easily, so there's a lot of restrictions right now here in Helsinki.
I wonder how it gets into those countries, though. You're talking about Norway, Sweden, Finland, those Scandinavian.
I don't know. This came from the UK, this variant.
Yeah, it has to be the UK travelers, people coming.
Yeah, because it's been really. I don't totally understand why they don't restrict the traveling more. I don't completely understand why it's not. It's really still free to travel.
Yeah, and I can't believe what's been going on, like, in Sweden.
That's
wow.
That's so weird, because Sweden has kind of always been Finland and Sweden have this kind of, Finlands are always feel they're a little bit behind the Swedes, and we're kind of, I guess it's jealousy in many ways also, but it's always like we always feel that the Swedes are, they look better. They are, socially, they are more like outgoing, and they smell better or whatever. But it's always this thing with the Finns and the Swedes. And we really were like kind of really blown away by the fact that they really handled this situation so bad. Because when the thing started, they didn't have any restriction. And they were like, just like, it's not going to be that bad. And now it's over 10 times more deaths than in Finland.
Yeah, they figure, okay, we're just so healthy. We'll just do herd immunity. We'll just
I
all.
don't know. Yeah, that's what they try to do. And the weird thing is that the guy is still in charge. The guy who was kind of overlooking the thing.
Like
He's
they're
still in
healthy.
charge.
Yeah.
I don't kind of whatever.
That theory just so doesn't work. We have a lot of people here in the States who are, we call them anti-vaxxers. So
Yeah,
naturally, if everybody just gets this and we just live with it,
yeah.
this is a horrible, horrible virus, and it just attacks you so fast.
Yeah,
So,
I know. We've been hit, like my family. We've been hit really close, but not in my family, but in my spouse's family. Yes, and it's all around us. I've been just kind of waiting that one day, there's a really strong chance of getting it. But now the vaccinations have started, so I don't know.
good. We can only hope and pray. And so, playing live, have you done a lot of this before the pandemic? Did you?
Yeah. It was 2019. I played. What could I say? Probably 80 gigs or something like that. Yeah, and I've been playing professionally live for since '97 until 2019 every year. Last year I had maybe 6 gigs.
Wow.
And this year none. And none in sight. Actually in November I have the first gigs in my calendar now. It's a long way to November. Yeah.
I'm thinking later this year, hopefully, like everywhere, at least we can start phasing in and being able to somewhat come back normally. And so I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Very good. So in your studio there, I see a couple of guitars and you play keyboard as well?
I play, I don't consider myself a keyboard player at all, but making score music, it's the directors very often they like to have they don't like the sound of electric guitar that much. And I kind of understand because it's many times the electric guitar, it's kind of, it defines, it kind of it can give an impression to maybe it's because of Morricone, who had the good, the bad, the ugly, and that kind of stuff. So if you play a twangy guitar, it's okay. Right. We don't want that. We don't want that Morricone shit here. And I kind of understand that. So many times it's more keyboardy things. But I don't consider myself a keyboard player at all. But many times what's needed in score music is very, very simple lines. So you don't have to be a virtuoso to. Yeah. And actually, for composing, keyboards are many times it's easier for me to get things going with the piano. I also have a real piano here, and actually, there's a lot of guitars there.
Yeah. There's a lot of what they call inside baseball, people who are just like only know about like certain instruments. So it's like I'm sure you're like into certain guitars, like a Rickenbacker and Jazzmaster, those kind of things. I'm sure that's like very eclectic type stuff that you.
There's a couple of Rickenbackers and 2 Jazzmasters and a lot of Gibsons, and then I also have a collection of other string instruments from around the world. I have this cavaquinho, it's from Brazil. Then I have a tres guitar, it's from Cuba. Then there's what's let me think. Well, it's called ronroco, but it's part of charango family, so that's from Argentina. And then what else? Then I have a couple of East African instruments, and I'm not saying that I can play them, but it's they open different doors to different sounds and different moods, and I always play them in their original tuning. I never tune them to an easy guitar player tuning. because there's a reason that for the original tuning, and I always try to kind of understand why is it like this, and you get to totally different like chord voicings with those instruments. And it's also in the style of music that I make for myself or for the score work, it's all about the mood, it's all about the sound. So what kind of a mood does a sound evoke, and that it's all about that. So instruments are really important in that. If I just had a Stratocaster and a Fender Twin amp, I wouldn't get that far with that. And of course I have it's not easy for me to show, but let's say there's a lot of pedals here.
You need electric pedals. That's
yeah. There's a lot of them. Too much. It's too easy to buy them. It's like
you can never have too many.
It's a disease. It's like, if I spent the same effort, just practicing the guitar, but it's always, for me, it's kind of I play the guitar a lot. During the pandemic, I have played more guitar than maybe in 30 years. But it's never been for me. It's not I don't have really good practicing, I don't have what would I call it? Like a certain practice that I go through. I just noodle around. Because that's
not like taking a rehearsal seriously. It's just you're just experimenting basically.
Yeah, because it's also the way that I make a lot of my music is that I may be watching TV or doing something completely different and just sitting on the sofa and noodling around the guitar, and then once in a while I hit a couple of notes that really sound interesting, like together, and then I put that on my phone. And later I go through all that crap and then, hey, this is interesting. And then something, it evokes something, and so that's the process. I don't sit down at the piano and, but at the same time, when I'm making a score, because at least for me, if I'm making score music, most of the music is not going to be used. It's almost like 3/4, maybe like 75% of the music that I'm making is not going to end up in the final product. So you just have to come up with a lot of music. So what I found out was that actually, I can make a lot of music if I just sit down and start. I don't have to wait for any inspiration. You can just sit down and start making music. It's not more difficult than that. Of course, making great music is a different thing, but making music or banging out ideas or like making stuff that you can start to work from, it's not that hard.
It's good. Do you have any favorite film composers, like Danny Elfman or people like that? Are they on your radar?
I mean, it's really interesting. Like of course, like Bernard Herrmann is a really big influence, but it's still, I'm not an orchestral composer. If I would have to do like orchestral music, I would have to hire an orchestrator to do that part, because I'm not classically trained, and if you are a real film composer who does orchestral work, you have to be really, really educated in that field. So what's interesting is the different trends if you think about, like, if we go back, let's say 70 years, 80 years in the score music, it used to be very, very orchestral, and the arrangements were pretty full, and it was underlining everything that what was happening visually was happening in the music. It was kind of not giving you any rest. And if you now watch let's say a Hitchcock classic from the 50s, it's sometimes, although they are brilliant work, but it's sometimes watching from today's perspective, sometimes they seem a bit like, wow, there's a lot of music happening and it's underlining everything that's happening on the screen. Whereas now, we are now in the situation that composers are, I'm not saying that it's only like this, but let's say the rough differences are that now it's very minimalistic many times. It's like it's not, that much composing. It's very it goes very tightly together with the sound design. The difference between sound design and composing used to be like, they used to be totally different professions, but they have gotten closer to each other all the time. Sometimes I feel that like I'm doing more sound design than composing, actually. It's interesting because like if you're playing one note on a synthesizer and wiggling the filter, I wouldn't call that composing, but nowadays it's called composing.
Oh,
but I've been checking out. Actually, I'm pretty new to this scoring, but I've always been a huge film buff. I've always watched a lot of movies and loved a lot of. Especially I like the 70s American film when the new directors came in, like the Scorsese's and people like that.
Yeah, it's people around our ages, like we're in our 50s and everything. Because I tried getting my daughter into that. She's like, they're slow moving, they're boring.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. No one. Yeah, I know. It's just, it's so different. The like the cuts are like long scenes, and yeah,
great time in cinema. And I grew up on that. It's like a Taxi Driver. What beats? It's just
yeah. And a bit later, but maybe my all-time favorite is Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
I really love that film and the soundtrack.
Oh, just amazing stuff. So I came across you on Facebook because you were very excited that one Marc Maron.
Yeah.
Where did that come up? How did Marc Maron, who also does a podcast, been doing it longer than me, but how did that all come about?
Well, it came about. I'm a huge Randy Newman fan.
Yeah.
So I was just maybe 4 years ago. I was just looking around in the internet for Randy Newman interviews, and then I just bumped into a Marc Maron podcast with Randy Newman, and I was blown away right away. Wow, this guy is really clever, and he has a really good connection with the guest. And I started to listen to more of his podcast, and now I've been a fan for maybe ever since. So this year, especially this pandemic, he's been really active. He has this Instagram live and tweets a lot and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, because I'm listening to his voice a lot, and it's been a difficult year in many ways. So I was just I'm just gonna send him my album, because just as a thanks, if nothing else, just as a gesture. Of course, I know that he's getting like tens of records a week, and I wasn't expecting at all that he's going to play that. It was just, it felt important for me, so I wrote this letter, like handwritten letter, and thanked him for blah blah blah, for for being very inspiring and brave in many ways, in the way that he has talked about his own life and his own struggles and everything like that. So yeah, I was just as a routine, I was just watching his Instagram live one day, and then he's a bit cranky many times in those Instagram lives, and he was, I'm not gonna play that, god damn it. And he's like, go and then hey, you know what, I'm gonna play this record a guy sent me, and okay, what's it gonna be? And it's from Finland. I was like, what? And then I knew it was him. And it's it's just it's of course it's not gonna affect my career or anything like that. But it was a huge thing for me anyway. Like it felt really, really good.
Oh yeah, that has to. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love how you showed the photo and he had that propped up, and I was like, that's just really cool that just like all that far away in the world and
yeah. It's kind of it felt kind of surreal, like the because his home and his record players and his cat and all that I've been watching them like for hours and hours, and suddenly my album is there. I was like, what's it gonna my brain got kind of what.
That's
it felt
so
surreal.
awesome.
Yeah, but it was nice. Yeah, but it's like it's my own music is it's not very commercial. It's kind of I have worked a lot with local Finnish artists that are very commercial. I've been working a lot with pop music, rock music, and producing albums and being pretty successful at also. But there's always somebody. There's always the artist or the A&R of the record company is always telling you what to do.
That's what they do. Yeah.
And that's their job, and I understand it. But when I started making my own album, the whole thing was that I'm not gonna get a separate producer. I'm going to do everything myself, and I'm not gonna think at all about who is this for. Is anybody going to buy this? It's blah blah blah. It's just I just knew that it's gonna be pretty marginal anyway. So it's really important if you're doing music or your life. It's really important to have some kind of outlet for the thing that's only you, I think. And it was also very difficult because usually there's always these kind of what would I call them? There are like these limits to what the artist can do, and there's usually a genre or you're usually aiming at a certain. It's not usually very. It's quite limited usually, the style of an artist or like that. So when you have the whole palette, you can do whatever you want. It's suddenly it's not that easy. Okay, what am I going to do if I can do anything I want? And
Right.
it's also not that easy to trust yourself in that situation.
That's true. It's like, I mean, you're doing it for yourself. You took away all those barriers. You have a lot of that creative freedom, but then you're questioning yourself, and then you start getting self-critical. That's what is when I do something all totally on my own. I'm crafting my own story.
Yeah, that's it. And nobody was expecting my album. And, it's always, so it's like you get to these conversations with yourself. Why are you doing this? This is bullshit. Nobody's going to blah, blah, blah. But it's a good struggle for me because I had to confront that. And also after that, when I was playing gigs with my own solo project, I had never been the center guy. I was always the guy on the left or on the right next to the center guy. So it's a totally different situation to play live. If you have to meet the audience in a different way. Although it's instrumental music, but you still have to communicate. But sometimes when you're working with a solo artist, if you're playing guitar, which I have done a lot, played guitar for different solo artists, so it's you don't always have to worry about the audience so much. You can concentrate a lot on your playing or on you don't have to. You have to be present, but you don't have to, work the audience in the same way. So that was a huge difference. I don't know if I like to be the center guy. I still don't know. I didn't play a lot of gigs. I played maybe 7 gigs like after that album, but enough to notice that, you know, I don't know if I like being that guy.
Yeah. It must feel kind of weird. Were you in a group called the Late Birds?
Yeah, that's a different band. Yeah. That's my friend's band. This Marcus Nordenstreng is his name. Yeah, he's a guy who's always made his music sounds American. He's always made music that's we've known each other now for almost 30 years. Let's say 28 years or something like that.
It's amazing.
Yeah, ever since from the very beginning I met him, his music always sounded like Tom Petty or Springsteen or stuff like that. So he's been on that track ever since. And we had the band, the Late Birds, we had that band for, I was in the band maybe for 7 years. We made 3 albums, and we actually played, we played the States quite a lot. We never got anywhere like really, but we had opening slots for Wilco and what's the Jayhawks and those alt country bands. So we worked a lot and we played quite a lot, and we made 2 of our albums in the States actually, but it never got enough, you know, like air under its wings. But he has another project now, and he's always kind of aiming for the US anyway. That's his genre.
You never know until you try. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, so many people are out there.
Yeah. And if you're making American sounding music from Finland, it's sometimes feel that, you know, like we're kind of trying to sell you something you already, you know, we're trying to bring Coca-Cola from Finland to you. So it's difficult, and it's like it's also I think it's a young man's job.
Really is. Yeah, I mean, even though we're not really old, but you know,
but you know, like those circumstances, you know, because when you haven't made it, you know, like it's a shitty van, and it's like sleeping when you can and sleeping where you can, and you know, not getting paid, and the schedules are insane, and nobody treats you good, and blah blah blah. So it's like, you know, why am I doing this? I have everything going for myself very well in Finland. So what am I doing here? You know, getting my ass kicked in New York. What the fuck? So
that is Gabe. That really is. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by. And
hey, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. I think this is just fantastic. And
thank you for reaching out. I'm really pleased. Absolutely,
and hopefully we'll hear your stuff in, you know, some big movies very soon. I think
hopefully, yeah. If I do something new, I'll definitely, you know, send you info. And
yeah, definitely, and I'll keep putting the word out there every time you have something new out there. Because I like championing everybody who's, you know, an artist, musicians, writers, leaders. I mean, because we're so locked down right now, and
that's true. That's really important. That's really a good work that you're doing. I'm really thankful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best wishes to you and your family and everybody there in Finland.
Yeah. All the best to you also.
Take care.
Take care. Yeah. See ya.